University Leaders session of the Presidential Search Listening Tour. On behalf of Chair Raymond Burse and the Search Committee, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with us about the President's Search. This is an opportunity to ask questions and share with us what you want to see in the next leader of our university. The Search Committee will use feedback from all these sessions to create a leadership statement, job description for the presidency, and to inform decisions made during the search process. If you're in person, would like to speak, simply raise your hand. We will pass you a microphone. Probably the better thing to do is just move to the center of the room, use the microphone there. If you're online, just raise your hand in the Teams function. We will unmute you so you may speak to us directly. If you're on Teams, you may also use the chat feature and we will read your comment to the room. We will alternate between in-person and online comments and questions. To ensure as much participation as possible, we will allow 5 to 7 minutes per topic of the talking points that we have to throw things out for you. Before we begin, I'd like to make sure we know John Thornburg, Ryan Crawford from our search firm Whitkeefer are in the room, so they are here gathering your input and feedback as we go. It's great to have you with us. We appreciate that very much. So we will we'll start. We've got 5 things we'll throw out. You should know, though, at the end, we will make sure to throw an open question out there. If there's something you wanted to bring up that we didn't touch on, we'll have that opportunity.
All right. So we're just going to get started talking about what is distinctive about the history, mission, and culture at the University of Louisville. So what do you feel is distinctive about the history, mission, and culture? Feel free to just step up to the mic, not all at once. Yeah, go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
I'd say one of the things that is distinctive is our identity as an institution. We did not join the state system until 1970. And I think that because of that, we've kind of continued to struggle a little bit with our identity. But we have continued our mission of serving the city of Louisville. And I think that that is something that needs to continue and to be grown, actually.
I give you an A+.
You passed the quiz.
What else?
And if you wouldn't mind, if you would introduce yourself when you step up there. Sure. Next time.
Any other thoughts on that question? All right, those of you in the athletic director listening tour know that we'll call on you if things get lulling. So those of you on the back row that were in those sessions, be warned that we'll come to you. So, all right, last chance on the first topic. If not, we'll move on. What are the top 4 to 6 academic, strategic, operational, financial priorities that the next president should be expected to focus on, especially in the first 1 to 2 years?
Calling on me, so I'll volunteer myself. Hello, everybody. My name is Stella Wong. I use she, her pronouns, and I work at the International Center as International Admissions Counselor. I'm also the president for AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islander Faculty and Staff Association. Well, I think the first priority in my mind is that we are a university serving students. So without our students, we cannot survive. And we all well aware of the demographic 2025 cliff coming up, meaning that in state and in the US in general, the students that's graduating qualified to go to college, the demographic have a really drastic decrease. So I think one of the priorities the next president, the leadership need to think about for us is how we can overcome that curve, right? Meaning that where else can we expand our enrollment beyond just our backyard that we've been heavily relying on for the past 20, 30 years. And in that, I would like to see the president and the leadership to think about, kind of go on with our brand campaign here and beyond. Where else can the U of L brand go, right? People in Louisville and Kentucky know who we are, but what about people in Asia, right? In Panama, in Africa, do they know what U of L is, what kind of value of education we can provide? So I think internationalization, to think about how we can come combat that kind of demographic cliff should be one of the priorities to, invest energy, resources, personnel into internationalization. And the second part, I think, with our the really bold statement the last administration has anti-racism, that really put us on the map in a way for the domestic DEI efforts. And with the senior vice president for diversity equity come in, I'm really curious to see how that kind of top leadership going to contribute to our mission, how we're going to rebrand that, how we're still putting ourselves at the forefront of the premier institutions nationwide. So once again, I know I talked a lot, but I think internationalization and DEI to combat the next, era of higher ed challenges is what I would like to see the next leadership do. Thank you.
We have an online comment from Justin Mogg. U of L has distinguished itself by being consistently rated as the most sustainable school in Kentucky. A priority must be to continue advancing social and environmental responsibility.
Right. That was really good. Thank you. We'll, what about some financial, the budget is always a big topic, and that's part of this question, and we haven't had any discussion on that. So any ideas, any thoughts from anybody about where or how we'd like to see our next president address budget issues, finance concerns at the university? Great.
Hey there, I'm Amanda. I'm in the grounds department, and I feel like I have a relatively unique perspective. I started here on a research grant. I have a master's degree from here. And in addition to being a grounds person, I'm one of those less than $13 an hour employees. I edit PhD students. I help them with their dissertations, and I charge them $60 an hour. And so I think that one of the questions in terms of finances is there are plenty of people like me who have multiple jobs, one of which is at the university because either the benefits are necessary, they want their children to have an education in which perhaps they did not, or they are not sure why they're here, but they've been here for so long, they're not sure what else to do. I think in terms of finances, one of the issues in addition to physical plant and people who are not making a living wage is to consider we're bringing in students, and I know this because I work with PhD students who are not prepared to write at a PhD level. Okay, so if our PhD students are not prepared to write at a PhD level, then how is it that the first years, second years, how can we keep them here? If the largest draw and financial support to a university is its tuition, then we have to keep the students here. And the only way that we can actually keep them here is to help them succeed. So from my perspective, I think it's really important that we take a look financially at how to increase the rate of students staying at the university and graduating, because that ultimately is going to be one of the statistics that parents look at when they decide, where do I want my undergraduate child to go? I have a child who's graduating from Manual High School in a couple weeks. He's not coming to the University of Louisville. He's got a free ride to Centre College. One of the reasons that he has a free ride to Centre College, he went to Manual High School, which is one of those schools, as we all know, who consistently perform and graduate kids who are ready to enter college. That is not the case for a lot of the students who come to the university. Additionally, since I make less than $13 an hour, his need-based scholarship is not equitable to his merit-based, but it's very high. So exactly what are we doing to look at the statistics of who's coming in, how are we supporting them, so that when you get a tenure-track faculty member, their issues are not exclusively how do we bring in more students, but what do we do when we are asked to augment education that is not present in the students that are coming to this university. 3 things covered. I know physical plant, bring us up to a living wage. Second, how do we ask the questions to get students prepared once we get them here? And then what do we do with those stats so that when you look at the colleges, which we all do, and you say, okay, let's rate them by what the graduation rate is, because that's what parents are looking at. And they want a really good reason, even if they work here, for their children to come here other than it's a free tuition. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda. That was very, and a lot of what you said ties into the enrollment cliff that we just heard about a few minutes ago. So, I mean, it's all interwoven, isn't it? So, very good. Thank you. Any other? Oh, Jake?
Yes, thank you. Justin Mogg states, we need a president who will stand up for the concept of U of L as a publicly funded institution and will consistently make the case to taxpayers and legislators that investing more in U of L is valuable public benefit.
Hi, I'm Megan Clifton. I'm an academic advisor in the College of Arts and Sciences. I've also worked on the HSC and the School of Nursing. So, and I've been at U of L more than 10 years. And one thing that on a prior strategic plan committee that we talked about that kind of relates to Amanda's statement was like, and from a financial perspective, that I think would be essential to be done at the institution to support retention efforts would be doing an internal audit of all of the services that we offer students. What's being successful, what's not being successful, where do we need to give more money to because it is being successful that can assist that retention. I've worked at a state school that did that prior, and it made such a huge impact on their retention to identify what are students using and what can help more students.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? It's kind of a wide-ranging question with the academic, strategic, operational, financial things all in there, but any other comments before we move to another? All right, thank you.
And just a reminder, if you're online, please raise your hand in Teams and we'll enable your microphone so that you can join us on camera and on microphone to answer or ask your questions.
Okay, so when it comes to career experiences and academic and leadership competencies, what do you think will best equip our next president to accomplish that agenda? So what kind of career experiences do you expect them to have in academics, leadership qualities?
Okay, I'm going to say something else.
Yes.
Not so long.
Go ahead.
All right. I think one of the things that the university could benefit from in terms of experience characteristics, I think it's the agenda of the person who is being considered. And what I mean by that is, I know in recent years we've had lots of interims. And sometimes the reason that we have interims is because U of L is a great launching pad. You get tenure, or you don't get tenure, or you've started some new programs. You're not sure if they're going to work, but you've started them. They go on your resume and you get hired away. And I have seen that happen several times. And so I think in terms of a president at this particular time, what we might want to think about is someone who is not in their early career launching. Because I think one of the things that this university could benefit from is some stability. And those who have been here for a while know that at the staff level, there's been quite a bit of instability. And so when you think of someone, where are they in their career? and what are they building, and how does the university at this particular juncture, do we need someone who is charismatic as a fundraiser? Do we need someone who is settled? And what does that mean as far as how their experiences and credentials match with where the university is in this very fluid period of interims?
Stability is definitely a theme I've been hearing for sure. So when we asked this question earlier this morning, faculty said they wanted someone who had been through the whole gamut of being faculty. So going through tenure, having taught undergrad, things like that. Is there anything about staff? Like, I want a university president who has worked in student affairs or worked in student involvement. Do you all have anything comparable to that, like what faculty has said?
You said everything I want to say, Reese, but I think hearing the theme, student service, retention, I understand faculty's standpoint that we want someone who's been to academia, right, focusing on research, being the dean and everything, but I think we would benefit, but I guess I don't want the search committee to exclude everybody with a student affairs background, operations background, financial background, even outside the higher ed, right? If they have great experience organizing different groups around in the public sector, I think because our unique, standpoint at our university, I think we can benefit from that too. So I think what I'm saying is that I want a search committee to consider, everyone that has been in those, areas beyond just academic longevity there. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Danielle Dolan. I'm the Assistant Dean for Advising in the College of Arts and Sciences. I oversee a staff of 17 people, so I hear a lot of staff concerns all the time. But one thing that I wanted to kind of think about is how many staff does this university employ? A lot. Look around the room, look online. How many people do we have here? Very few. Now, I can't speak for all of staff, but what I can say is I know that staff are disengaged, they do not feel valued, and we have a morale issue at this university because we don't feel listened to, and we haven't felt listened to in the last 2 years. One of the biggest messages that came out of the pandemic was faculty can be safe, students can be safe, but staff need to be here for people in person. And so, in fact, we were being put on the front lines by saying, we value you, but then, making us be here. And then finally, when we did go, we weren't trusted to do our jobs. So I think in the next leader, I think they just need to have a good background with people. And that is to say, they need to understand the complicated systems of human communication and how people are able to express themselves through their jobs. And we've had leaders say, we have to make the tough decisions, and we're not going to make everybody happy. But you can also have as leader say, okay, I'm here to listen. Please tell me what is going on. And I don't feel like that's happened in the last few years, and that staff have always been easily dismissed because of that. And so I think someone who understands the important role that staff plays at this institution and the important way that they help retain students, how they help faculty do their jobs, how they help administration do their jobs and do their jobs well, because you have people in the background holding them up. And so somebody who recognizes that and then rewards that is, I think, paramount to just about anything.
So we have a comment online, and then we have a commenter, Justin, online. So let me read that comment first. Diane Whitlock says, I think we should seek someone with a proven record of inclusion and equity and creating a positive climate across identities and roles among faculty, staff, students, and administrators. And then Justin, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I want to definitely echo what everyone has just said, and I would love it if we had a president who could have experience as a groundskeeper as well as a faculty member. So, Amanda for president. No, we need someone. I want to make the case for someone with a strength in interdisciplinary work. I think the future is interdisciplinary, and we as an institution have continued to be overly siloed, and we need to break down those silos if we want to be a university for the future and not the past. And so someone, doesn't matter to me what their specialty is, but someone who has a serious background in doing interdisciplinary work is really important.
Let me ask a follow-up question to the stability question, because we had this conversation in a meeting earlier and I found it to be very interesting. The strongest candidates are likely to be people that are attractive. If they're attractive to us, they're attractive to other places. And the strongest candidates are likely to be people that will, like Neely was, that we knew somebody was going to come calling for her sooner, maybe a little bit sooner than we thought it was going to happen, but we knew that was going to happen at some point. When we hired her, we thought we had a rising star, and we were going to have to deal with exactly what we're dealing with at some point. Is stability, I'm not phrasing it, stability compared to the strength of the candidate pool, where's the trade-off kind of part to that? Do we want somebody that may not be as outstanding as other candidates if it means they'll be here for 7 or 8 years? Or are we willing to be sitting in this room again in 44 months or something like that because we hired a really strong candidate? It goes back to, I remember a conversation I had with Bill Olson when he was athletic director here. He told me, he said, John, if I hire coaches that I don't have a problem keeping, I didn't do a very good job hiring the coach to begin with, right? So, Amanda?
Okay, and then I have to go back to work. I'm actually supposed to be working, but here I am.
You are working.
You are working.
This is working.
Well, yeah, but I do have supervisors. Okay, so stability question and athletics, it made me think of, okay, what do we do when we hire some for athletics? What kind of years do we ask for? And, is there any similarity between those two searches, if you will, when it comes to president? And I think it's got to be a balance. I don't think anyone comes to one university and says, oh, I can't wait to get out of here. I'm ready to build my curriculum and my resume and get out of here. But I think at the same time, the questions that are asked of the individual might shed some light on why Louisville. Do they have family ties? And is there anything about Louisville that makes Louisville itself an attractive place to be, in addition to the university? Because sometimes that's what causes former athletic coaches to stay in town longer, because they're raising their family. So adios. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
We have a couple comments online. Melissa Shooter says we should always hire the best. We deserve the best. And Christine Newton says regarding the trade-off between having a good candidate versus them staying here would be that too much transition is hurting the university, so we should shoot for a 6-year minimum.
I'm Joshua Boydston. I'm the administrative associate for the Department of Comparative Humanities. And I also serve as the secretary for the Arts and Sciences Staff Association. I think the past two questions are kind of linked in my mind. I think a person who is likely to stay here for the long haul is probably an individual who really is committed to the importance of an urban public university that serves not just, but certainly a local population many of whom might not otherwise have access to higher education, who are likely the first members of their family to have an opportunity to go to college or to grad school. Somebody who is fully committed to that goal and wants to really advance the university over a period of years is more likely to stay here than somebody who I suspect is really committed to making this a top tier R1 university. Not that those are mutually exclusive goals, but I think at some point we have to kind of figure out, are we trying to be too many things and then kind of sacrificing everything in the effort?
We have a comment online from Virginia. Virginia, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Hello. I guess one of the things that strikes me, Missy said that, you know, we should always hire the best. We deserve the best. We certainly seem to pay like the best for our upper administrators. I find it incredibly distressing that we still have staff that aren't making $15 an hour at this institution, and we pay our president very well. And so why can't we write a contract for a new president that says, you don't get that bonus until you've been here 5 years and proven yourself? We do it for the coaches. We do it in athletics. And I don't see why we couldn't be the forerunner out there to do it for a presidential search, to get some commitment to stay the course. It's what the institution needs. It needs to have vision. It needs to have leadership. And it needs to figure out where we want to take the University of Louisville. But it needs to have someone who will be willing to stay the course. Whatever the course is that the faculty, staff, and students decide that it should be. I don't think the president gets to pick what the course is. I think it has to be a group effort. And the governor, you know, the governor, the mayor has all said that the University of Louisville is an economic driver for our Commonwealth. And we need to maximize that opportunity. And I think the staff at this institution are one of the strongest links in that chain. And that's what I wanted to say. Thanks, John.
Then career experiences and professional qualities will best equip your president to work effectively within the culture of the University of Louisville in our region of Kentucky. So more personal traits than career traits that we just discussed. What kind of person?
We had a little technical difficulty. Can you repeat the question?
Okay. All right. So the question was, interpersonal skills are obviously critically important for anyone occupying this position. What interpersonal skills and personal qualities will best equip your president to work effectively within the culture of the University of Louisville and our region of Kentucky? So more personal traits and qualities as opposed to professional career experiences and things that we just discussed. What type of person are we looking for?
I just think somebody that's willing to be present. Like I said, I've worked here for 10 plus years now, and I can probably count on like one hand the number of times that I've seen like the president like during a work day, out and about, not like at a function, just like out and about. And compared to when I was in graduate school for 2 years at a flagship institution, I would see that the president frequently, just like walking, you know. And I think that sends just such a message that they care about the institution just being physically present. I think that that's really important.
That's interesting you say that. So I went to Western Kentucky University, and me and Miss Mary were just talking about President Ransdale, and you would just see him walking his dogs on campus. So like, and it made you feel like, oh, like he's a part of this. So something like that, where they're just physically around. They exist.
Yeah.
They're alive. Yeah, like you're walking to class and there they are coming back from Starbucks or something.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. I'm Michelle Henderson. I am an advisor in the College of Arts and Sciences. For my two alma maters as well, very active with students, a president who engages with students every day, makes for better alumni engagement. I went to school in Florida, and I am very active in my college's alumni efforts here in the city of Louisville. And so I give back to my institution. So that as a student, and you see that and you're engaged with your university because you're like, how cool is this? This administrator cares about me and cares about my experience here. It helps with retention. It helps with future alumni engagement, giving back to your university. So the presence there is very important to students and obviously to other faculty, staff, everybody who works at the university. So very personable, engaged. That's really important.
I finally get to speak at one of these.
Well, I thought you were going to change batteries or something.
Yeah, I warned Jake I might, and not to be alarmed if I walk up here. As a Jake, I'll just squat. Nobody can point it at my head.
Why don't you just
so
pick it up?
Everybody. No, you can't see my head.
Oh.
Anyway, as somebody who is in a lot of these sorts of meetings, but sits back in the corner and nobody talks to, that's okay. I'm not judging anybody. I like higher level administrators, presidents who recognize me, know me, and say hi to me. Even if they don't remember my name, they recognize that I'm at multiple things and are like, oh, that guy was at that last thing. I'll wave. That's always nice, and it shows that they care, even though they may or may not actually know who I am.
So someone who knows Josiah. Got it.
Yeah. Is there anybody on campus that doesn't know you? Okay. Yes, Angela.
I'm Angela Taylor. I'm the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs. I've been here not as long as Megan, so 9 years. So some of the things I think about, and Danielle said this a bit, pretty strong emotional intelligence is what I think we're defining some of those interpersonal skills as. I think we have to have courage, and after courage, I'll say, and this is how I would answer the other question, but I think there are lots of answers. I think we have to have some pretty strong political savviness to a president. So with their previous skills, working with legislation, what our values are don't always align sometimes with the state. And so how do we coexist peacefully and in partnership to best, mold minds that are going to run the world, right? Because that's what the goal is, as I think Virginia shared, that we're putting out into the workforce. And then I think confidence, but not arrogance. So I think presidents have to make incredibly difficult decisions. And I agree that what Danielle hears a lot is, we can't make everybody happy. People don't like hearing that. It's not great emotional intelligence to say that. But I do think that in making tough decisions, there might then be people who are unhappy with those decisions. So how do we do that with tact? It's not arrogance, because if you're a strong relator or a people person, you can make really hard decisions, which then comes with accountability. So then how I would have answered the last question with person skills is also, they're also a supervisor. So they're supervising people. And how does that happen as well? Because that all trickles down, since we're in the staff session, that all trickles down to those of us in staff roles, because our supervisors see that, other supervisors, how does that come down? How does that filter down? We're not always going to get it right, and that's okay. And we should admit when we're wrong, but how do we move forward? Thank you.
So a few of the comments that have come online. We need an anti-racist leader. and a president who walks and bikes. That's from Justin. A president who is physically present, especially with students and at student events. Students first, Alicia Kelso. Melissa Benningfield said, we need someone who is more than a cheerleader. And Diane Whitlock followed up with great points regarding savvy, but also with communication and honesty.
Yeah, sure.
Kind of related to what Angela said, someone who leads with humility. We have a tendency at this institution, and I've been here a long time. I was a transfer student here in spring of 2001, and some of the issues that persist 22 years later are still here. But someone who is able to say, we made a mistake, we tried something new, and then they own it. They not only hold the accountability, or students accountable, faculty accountable, staff accountable, but they hold themselves accountable. I think we've had too many leaders who do not like to admit when they've made a mistake, when they've made a misstep, and so we end up getting further and further in trouble. So someone who can show that humility is probably one of the strongest leadership qualities that people have. It's one thing that I learned early on in my leadership career, that your people respect you more. They are more likely to come to you when they make a mistake, and you can help them navigate it. So if they are able to show that, we've got a good leader.
So it also sounds like you're saying someone who's not afraid to fail and then be accountable for that and learn from it and move forward.
Amanda James, you had your hand up. Would you like to make a comment? You'll have to unmute yourself.
I can make a comment. I don't know if this actually answers the question, and I think everything people have said sort of hint at it, but something just that always stood out to me is I advised several student groups, and I had several students over the years who literally almost, like, for lack of a better word, like fangirled over Neely, like how excited they were to see her and meet her, and like, oh my gosh, it's Neely, or oh my gosh, I got a selfie with Neely, or things like that. And I know that sounds like really minuscule, but I know like over the years that hasn't always been the case at U of L. And so just thinking of like attributes, like ultimately, I think that's just someone being likable. And I think that goes to what everyone else has been saying, but someone that people want to be around and want to be led by, and, want to listen to, and, to what Danielle was just saying, like, no, not every decision will be right. And ideally they will own up to that kind of stuff. But like at the end of the day, like, I think we all probably want it to be someone that we like and want to be around and see and, be led by.
We negate those efforts.
Good discussion. Anything else on the personal qualities we'd like to see in our next leader before we move on? Yeah.
I think this just echoes what everyone else has said. I think our next leader need to be someone that kind of embodies integrity. I haven't been here long, but I've heard the scandals from a few years back. Sorry, not funny, but I think we want to put ourselves out there as a place where the leader embody, the cardinal principle, transparency, honesty, all of that. We don't need like, the scandals, right, to precede our reputation as an institution. And secondly, I think we need to think about who we're serving, right? Someone mentioned the chat earlier, students first. And we know with Gen Z, it's drastically different than what the student population will be dealing with. So we need a president, a leader who's not afraid to, embrace the new things, what the Gen Zers are, interested in, interacting with them on social media, even TikTok, just an example, right? So that we stay current and relevant with the students that we're serving for the next generation.
All right. Last call on this topic. That's been a good discussion. All right.
All right. So next question. What do you all think are some of the selling points that make the most attractive candidates want to come here? Come on, we're not that bad. What do we have that other universities maybe don't have?
Hmm? Yeah. Yeah. I told you the Sweden story, didn't I? I told you the story of the girl from Sweden, didn't I?
Melissa Shooter, give me 1 second. We'll unmute you. All right, you'll have to unmute yourself, Missy.
You know, I think the University of Louisville has had a continued ascent for over 20 years. I mean, when I started with the university, largely commuter, not much research, and we have done a phenomenal job. And I think for those of us who have been around a long time and have seen that, that just shows how much opportunity we have. And I don't think we've peaked yet. So I think the opportunity on our research side, I think the boldness of our anti-racist agenda, I think the city and all that our city has been through in the last couple of years, really being able to build on that. We've got great corporate partners in the city. You can get just about anywhere by plane in a couple of hours. So we're a great launching point. You've got the Ali Center. I mean, I think those of us who have been here a long time, it's easy for us to take for granted what a cool spot we are. The bourbon industry is kind of off the charts right now. So I think we're emerging, and I think if we can find a good fit that can emerge with us and continue to grow with us, that would be spectacular. And we have great staff who are very, very committed, a lot of history.
Katie Parton.
Hey, actually kind of going off of what Melissa was just saying, that I have found, and I've been here as a student since 2004 and an employee since 2008, that the sense of community that we have here is really something else, especially for such a large institution. And it would be lovely for someone to come in who really, as Melissa was saying, kind of wants to continue to grow with us. You know, I know presidency can be kind of a stopping off point, you know, on a bigger journey, but I think we are an institution that as a faculty and a staff, we really do well because so many people just are committed to being here and staying here and growing in the community. And if we can find a president who has that same mentality, who really wants to integrate themselves into the University of Louisville and become a fixture in the University of Louisville, I think that that will serve us really well and would mesh very well with our kind of general sense of who we are as an institution.
I guess is this a better way to ask that question is why become a fixture? Like we do want someone we want stability. We said we want someone who's going to stay the course, be here, but why? And I think this question is asking why here.
I think of one of the main reasons that I've stayed at U of L. I did leave for a while and I went to like a rural private school, which was a totally different experience. But one thing that like brought me back to U of L is that our student population for the state of Kentucky is relatively diverse. And for an individual that works in student services, that's very challenging because you never know who's going to come into your office, what are they going to need help with, is it something that you can provide, is it something that you need to connect them to the community to, and it's very challenging. And I think that that's a big part of the reason that I have enjoyed my experience at the University of Louisville is that our student population, while people like to think that it's predominantly from the Louisville community, you find that students do come from different areas and specifically regions that you can help them learn about the city, which is, I think, partially fun, but also just really the diversity that our students bring. And being in the South, you don't necessarily get that at large four-year institutions necessarily, but you do at U of L.
If I can be a participant instead of somebody at the table for a minute, I would just throw out that the thing that I would tell people if I knew someone somewhere I was trying to encourage to come here, I would say us being a Research One institution with a student body that's 40% Pell eligible speaks volumes to so many things on so many different levels at our institution. The dedication of staff, the dedication of faculty, the resiliency of our students, those things, I think that's just a crazy cool combination of demographics that we should take a lot of pride in and should be a big piece of whoever is coming in here next is understanding that whole dynamic. So, okay, thank you for letting me participate. Anything else on that? Was another good discussion. Thank you very much. Our last question is a little off script. We just want to make sure if there's something
I think Miss Diane has.
Yeah, Diane
I'm
has a
sorry.
comment. Diane stated that as a native Louisvillian, I'm obviously biased, but I think the city, our alumni, and all stakeholders hold us accountable. And while that sometimes hurts, they also engage and expect us to do better and more. That is very attractive to someone generally interested in preparing people to make positive change.
All right. All right. Great. Thank you. So to wrap up, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't hit?
Another comment online from Keith. Any individual will be set up for success due to the hard work of those that came before to clean up many of the issues from the last decade.
All right. Anything that we didn't hit on that you wanted to bring up? All right. Thank you. Nobody else online?
Again, if you're online, is there anything that you would like to bring up? Are there any questions that we did not ask that you would like us to ask?
All right, John or Ryan, anything that you would like to bring up that we didn't, or response to anything?
Now, this has been very insightful, but we'd be glad to take any of your questions about what's ahead in our journey to find an exceptional president. Any questions of us? Yes.
How many institutions have you done searches for?
Me personally, about 95.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Over 20 years. Others? That was too easy. Well, let me assure you that one of the great values of listening to sessions like this and what we're doing the rest of today and all of tomorrow is to really hear firsthand from the people who are on the front lines of the university so that we can serve as interpreters of this opportunity. This is not a process that's going to produce candidates by simply putting an ad out. We proactively reach out to people who we feel bring the composite of experiences and talents and styles that are aligned with what you're seeking. And we begin conversations and excite them about this opportunity and ultimately trying to find that proverbial chemistry that will not only give you someone who brings great qualities and qualifications, but who is invested in this university at this time. And that's a big part of our process, is to really understand their aspirations and to make sure that this is an opportunity that appeals to them both professionally and personally, and will ideally give you that stability of leadership and the contributions of and value add that a great leader can provide. So we'll look forward to putting that into play over the next several months. Any questions from online? John, thank you.
Great. Thank you, John. Okay, this concludes our listening tour session. On behalf of the search committee, thank you all for your thoughtful discussion today. If you have additional feedback to share or have questions, please visit two websites, ufl.me/PSC-feedback, which seems a little, or Louisville.edu/presidential-search. So we all know Louisville.edu, just presidential-search will get you to the website. It seems like much simpler and quicker, right? So
just Google U of L presidential search. That's what I
yeah, or just do a search. That's right. So thank you all very much. Great discussion, great points. We appreciate you being here and being engaged very much.
Oh, thank you. You deserve the clap. You deserve